I stumbled into a dive that acted as a bridge between my boring life and the three literal end of days. I braced for a horde of monsters to shred me, but this shack was an impenetrable fortress. Survival was the bare minimum. I was carving out an empire while my ex's parting shots echoed in my head. We're done. 3 years wasted, three pink slips, and a bank account that looks like a cruel joke. My poverty was her breaking point, and she'd already traded up before I'd even finished packing my desk. Dumping me for a trust fund prick, she cut ties. I sat there, a discarded shell of a man. $25,000 in medical bills for my folks had gutted me, leaving me with nothing but this shop. The air turned heavy as the walls groaned, and I realized I was at the epicenter of the apocalypse. Looking out the window, I was nose to nose with a literal ocean of walking, stinking rot. Those hungry freaks hammered the glass, but that flimsy-looking door didn't even flinch. A monitor flickered to life. Post-apocalyptic shop status invincibility active. I had 12 hours before the return trip, watching those things claw at the walls while I paced inside. My stock was pure gas station junk, instant ramen, bottled water, some spam, and stale crackers. Back home, this was cheap trash. Here it was the foundation of a cutthroat business empire. Jewelry is garbage when the world is burning. Only salt and sugar have value. I grabbed a water bottle. This might cost 50 cents in the city, but it's a king's ransom when the pipes run red. Driven by pure spite and a pile of debt, I twisted the cap and took a slow, cocky drink. 12 hours to rewrite my life story. I started calculating some truly ruthless markups. An ounce of gold for a drink, no, make it 3. 10 for the noodles. Time to get greedy. The pitch was tricky. Who'd fight through a zombie mob just for a midnight snack? I wasn't going to waste 12 hours, so I stared at the ramen and cooked up a scheme. In a world smelling of blood and decay, the scent of seasoning is basically a miracle. I flipped the switch and the kettle started screaming. This magic shack was completely self-sustaining. This little pocket of peace was a sanctuary. As the water boiled, I ripped into the spice packet. That beautiful fake beef aroma filled the air, but my grand opening had one massive problem. I had to lure them in with the smell, so I aimed the exhaust fan right at the street. Minutes felt like hours until my nerves frayed. Then a massive fireball lit up the night sky. The inferno roasted the monsters at my door. I leaned forward to see who was tossing the cocktails. A girl stood there staring at my pristine shop amidst the rubble. Now that's a first, she muttered. Shocked to find an open sign in a graveyard city, she adjusted her gear and walked right up. She hit the invisible barrier and stumbled. And awakened, you're some kind of high-level defender. Name's Sarah. What's the price for a meal? I locked eyes with her and laid out the terms. Cash is just trash here. I only take gold bars. Her eyes narrowed into suspicious slits. She blasted a wave of fire at my face, but it just flickered out against the glass. Ready to talk. I smirked. She groaned. Fine. The cost? 10 ounces of gold. You're a total thief. Gold is just pretty rocks now. Maybe, but it's not like I'm swimming in it. Then no deal. I turned my back on her and started inhaling the noodles with over-the-top relish. The sound echoed in the silence, and I watched her swallow hard as she eyed the steam. It had clearly been ages since she had eaten anything that didn't taste like dirt or rot. Scavenging scrap keeps your heart beating, but it doesn't actually feed the soul. Her stomach let out a roar so loud it could have been a shotgun blast in that quiet room. She turned bright red with embarrassment, but I just kept my eyes on the bowl, acting indifferent. I'm short on funds. Can I run a tab? I shook my head. No credit in the end times, honey. I wasn't running a soup kitchen, and my ride out was in 12 hours. She was a liability. I let out a massive burp, then casually tossed a jerky stick through the portal as a teaser. I flicked the crinkled foil at the glowing barrier, watching it sink like dead weight. Yejin freezes her ego, locked in a brutal showdown with her starving gut. Time stands still until her willpower snaps. She kills the snack in 3 frantic gulps. I whispered that the taste was free, but dinner costs 100 grams of gold. She is likely already scouting for a nearby bunker or a lost vault to pillage. Digging up 100 grams is easy for her, but I stall her before she vanishes. I reach beneath the ledge and pull up a silver tin weeping with icy condensation. This is the legendary nectar, a relic worth far more than the finest vintage wine. I demand 50 grams of gold while ripping a spicy bag to let the scent hit. These go for 30 grams, I note, surrounded by smells of hot broth and soda. This was once gas station trash, but in this hellscape, the smell is lethal bait. Her knuckles go white as she stares at the massive hoard stacked behind me. She slips into the shadows to hunt, leaving me to watch my internal timer tick down. With 10.5 hours left, I count 10 ramen cases and 15 of water. My shelves are packed with snacks, and I find 5 fresh eggs in the back. As I plot my move, a thud echoes outside and a spent Yejin stumbles back in. She drops a heavy leather pouch, wheezing that she brought 200 grams of gold. I authorize the entry, mentally letting an invisible force snatch the bag from her. The gold phases through the hum and drops at my feet, leaving her breathless. I am becoming a legend to her while I prep the noodles and cold drink. I bring the water to a roll, carrying the steaming bowl toward the energy wall. Just as she reaches, I pull it back, flashing a single egg with a smirk. I demand 50 grams for it, ignoring her screams that I'm a low-life crook. I start to hide the egg, reminding her my stock is for those with money. Despite her reputation as a firebrand, her vanity is losing to her hollow stomach. She is used to giving orders, but now she is desperate, unhooking a glowing rock. She says the gold is gone and offers the crystal instead for that one egg. As system ping halts my refusal, I realize my whole plan was way too small time. I was chasing a 35,001 debt, missing the jackpot in front of me. These shards are the true lifeblood here, though I keep my face bored. I hide my excitement, asking why she is peddling some useless chunk of monster bone. This core is high-octane fuel, making gold look like dirt next to its raw power. She shakes with rage, thinking I am either an idiot or a cold-blooded killer. I feign a heavy sigh, claiming her honesty earned her a break on the trade. With a single thought, I make the system pull the crystal into my inventory. I tuck the prize away and serve the feast premium noodles, the egg, and soda. She attacks the meal with a fork, clearing the bowl down to the green onions. She kills the soda and devours the snacks while I watch her in silence. She vows to return before fading back into the ruins of the broken city. I pull out the shard, knowing these cores can rewrite DNA into God-tier strength. Failure means turning into ash. With a 1% success rate, my hands tremble. A 1% chance is a death sentence, but then my shop menu pings me. I am totally invincible within these walls, safe from injury or any cellular collapse. This means the risk is zero for me. I can see myself ruling the flames. I swallow the stone. A heartbeat later, pure agony begins to shred my soul. I'm twitching on the grimy tile, the agony finally ebbing away. Then this massive, terrifying heat floods my chest. Did I actually cross over? Raw, jagged energy screams through my body. I try to mirror Yejin's flame, but nothing happens. Just the dead, frozen air of the void. Damn it, I growl, punching a dented locker. The metal just blinks out of existence. I feel this invisible tether to a massive, silent abyss. There's the locker just drifting in the shadows. One sharp thought, and it snaps back into place right where it sat before. A faint chime echoes in my skull. Spatial mastery unlocked. My own private pocket dimension is officially online. It's 1 cubic meter of stalled time. I spend an hour flicking junk between worlds until the heavy truth finally sinks in. Cash is just worthless paper now, but these shimmering shards, they're the only ticket to the top. 9 hours left on the clock. I need a mountain of them before the buzzer hits. If one bowl bought me a life, imagine what 20 could secure. I haul out a heavy steel pot and drop 20 packs of ramen inside. I flip the vent fan to high, pumping that savory scent into the ruins. The ultimate lure for a world on its knees. 3 blocks out, a starving crew is huddled in the wreckage watching the smoke. Some kid with taped up glasses whispers to the leader. Tiger Shalu's leg is turning black. She won't last a night without medicine. Tiger, his face a map of old scars, stares into the dark. Food is gone. Meds are a myth. They're staring at the end. Suddenly, the smell of real food cuts through the rot. Tiger tenses up. Someone is actually cooking a feast nearby. Everything in their head screams it's a setup. Out here, nobody feeds you unless they're looking to skin you alive. But the hunger is louder. Go find it. The kid wheezes his mouth, literally watering at the thought. Tiger, we wait and we're ghosts, he says. Tiger knows the math of this city better than anyone left breathing. Eat today or rot tomorrow. A desperate wild heat flares in his eyes. He gives the signal. Move out. They ghost through the rubble until they hit my storefront. They see the steam rising from the noodles, then they lock eyes with me. I'm just leaning in the doorway, acting like I don't have a care in the world. To anyone with a brain, this looks like a death trap. They're starving, but pure cold-blooded fear keeps their boots glued to the cracked pavement. Tiger catches a glimpse of some guy ducking behind a rusted wreck. That stranger sees Tiger's team at the exact same moment. The stranger signals for a ceasefire. Tiger looks around and realizes the shadows are crawling with hungry ghosts. A rifle scope catches the light from an upstairs window. I see the glint of steel hiding behind the trash in the alley. 50 sets of eyes are burning holes in me. I've already got every single one of them pinned. What's the holdup? Not hungry. I don't raise my voice, but it rings through the silence like a funeral bell. I spear a slice of sausage and take a slow, deliberately delicious bite. I'm open for business. I have enough for everyone. The guy by the car finally cracks. What's the catch? You want gold bars or essence cores? I state my terms and my voice booms across the square. They're floored. Shards are life itself, but gold is just shiny garbage. Someone screams from the darkness, he's just baiting us. Let's just drop him and take the whole damn pot. The air gets heavy with the smell of murder as they weigh their chances. I just keep eating, never looking away from my bowl. Try it and you're dead to me forever. Some thug in the alley barks back like I'm actually afraid of that. He bursts into the light, leveling a shotgun at my chest. Two more follow him, swinging lead pipes and jagged blades. The rest of the crowd holds back, letting these idiots test the waters. The lead guy pulls the trigger. The blast echoes through the ruins, but the buckshot just stops. The pellets hit a wall 15 feet out and drop like dead flies. I don't even flinch. I just slide another piece of sausage into my mouth and keep chewing. The whole square goes dead silent. The guys with the blades are frozen in place. The man by the car tries a different angle. A faint shimmering glow starts to pulse around his open palm. He throws a psychic surge meant to scramble my brain. It slams into my barrier and just evaporates. The terrifying truth finally sinks in for them. Inside these four walls, I'm an untouchable god. Tiger is drenched in sweat, thanking his lucky stars he stayed put. I finish my meal and scan the dark corners. I lock eyes with the gunman. I told you you're cut off. Anyone else want to forfeit their last meal? The tension is suffocating, pushing them right to the edge. Then the sharp rhythmic click of heels cuts the air. Every head turns as Yejin walks toward the shop with chilling composure. Tiger's blood turns to ice when he recognizes her. Everyone out here knows the legends. She's a high-tier fire mage, a literal walking nuclear bomb. You really have a gift for making a scene, don't you? She asks. Then she glares at the crowd. Some idiots just never learn. Holster those pieces. This vault is impenetrable even by my standards. Don't play yourself. The plaza goes hauntingly quiet. Nobody dares to cross me now. Big Tiger exhales sharply, emerging from the gloom with his palms flat against the sky. Scavengers begin crawling from their holes. Yejin pays them no mind and her fingers dancing over the tactical gear at her waist. 3 bars of solid gold, 300 grams each. I need hardtack canned protein and filtered water. Right now. Keep the load light and shelf stable. For a top-tier predator like her, concentrated calories are the only logical play. I respect a client who actually uses their head. I quickly slide over bundles of dense bread and stacks of tinned ham, tinned pork, and several liters of clean water. The deal closes in heartbeats, and Yejin vanishes back into the gray ruins. Every pair of eyes in the square is burning holes in me. The rage is gone, replaced by a hollow, starving rot. Next, same rules as always. Gold or cores for calories. Then the moron who tried to shoot me earlier finally cracks. He drags himself toward my booth on his knees, sobbing. Boss, I blew it. Please just give me one mouthful. Give me the scraps. Anything. His two buddies hit the dirt beside him, literally praying for their lives. Pity is a luxury no one here can afford. I warned you. You attack me, and you're dead to this shop. I turn my back on their begging to face the crowd. Who's buying? Tiger steps up, presenting a gold-leafed crystal box. I pocket the kit without a word. In exchange, I serve 3 bowls of steaming ramen, topped with thick, savory sausage. They bury their faces in the steam, tasting a kind of warmth they haven't felt in a long, long time. Watching the food change hands makes the mob lose it. Boss me next. I've got a core. Take my gold. The guy who tried to kill me earlier quietly pushes 2 more bars forward, staring at his boots in shame. I take his tribute and hand him some broth. Once the floodgates crack, there is no holding back the human tide. Some offer jewelry, others bring crystal canisters. Soon, over 10 crates are piled high on my battered wooden counter. The frantic feeding frenzy eventually slows to a low hum, but then the entire vibe suddenly turns poisonous. The 3 rejects are consumed by a bitter, jagged spite. One lunges at a frail old man about to eat. He shatters the porcelain, sending the noodles and boiling soup soaking into the dry, thirsty earth. The eating stops. Every survivor turns their head, eyes glowing with a murderous hatred for the one who broke the peace. I freeze the service and wait for the inevitable until a streak of fire rips the air. The man vaporizes instantly. The blast ripples out, incinerating his two partners. Within 3 seconds, all three are nothing but memories and soot. Yejin drifts back out from the shadows. I have zero patience for people who can't follow a simple set of rules. I flip her a cold soda as a quiet reward. Then I get right back to stirring the massive iron pot of noodles. After that, the market runs with a terrified clockwork efficiency. Tiger's crew licks their bowls completely spotless. More desperate ghosts drift in from the wreckage. By the time the shadows grow long, my shelves are stripped bare. The haul is staggering. Not a single person dared to haggle over the literal price of surviving another day. After Yejin's fire show, nobody wanted to test my limits. By sunset, I'd moved every single scrap of inventory. Yejin crunches her empty can and walks over. You're a wealthy man now, she notes. When are you coming back? I give her a non-committal shrug, and she disappears into the night. I open my mental vault to count the take. I'm sitting on over 100 kilograms of gold and 33 fresh crystal cores. The feeling isn't just agony this time. It feels like my consciousness is being shredded across the entire universe. Without the shop's internal dampeners, this raw energy would have popped my cells. I ride the pain until it settles. When I finally snap my eyes open, I see a fly buzzing through the air in extreme slow motion. I can hear the undead shuffling blocks away and smell the mold under the concrete. My senses are now superhuman. I flick a wrist toward a heavy steel shelf and it hovers. This isn't storage. This is raw mental force. System check. I've unlocked a second skill, psychic control. I can now move objects from 50 kilometers away. My storage capacity has gone through the roof. I sit in the graveyard silence and watch the countdown hit 0. The world begins to warp and bleed as the jump sequence finally kicks in. The stench of iron and decay vanishes, replaced by the crisp, sweet scent of fresh morning dew. I'm back. The jump is done and I'm finally home. I've got exactly 12 hours to prep before I return. Dawn had not yet broken when I rose for one final breath of quiet. 9 a.m. found me stalking a beast amidst the wreckage of a sprawling bazaar. I slipped into a grime-coated stall and trapped the elder. Do you trade in yellow metal? I inquired, my tone shattering the heavy stillness. He began whining about permits and law, but I remained silent. I simply crashed 2 solid bullion bricks onto his battered workbench. That heavy metallic boom forced the old-timer's posture to stiffen instantly like a steel rod. He spent 10 minutes peering through a loop at the ore. Top shelf stuff, he croaked. I will offer 580,000. My gaze pierced his spirit. 700 grand. He started moaning about the danger and the bribes required to move it. I observed his nerves fray until avarice won out. Half a minute later, my device pinged with the credit alert. 700,000 landed in my account. Walking into the glare, I rang the devil himself, a shark known as Biao. Speaker rough voice barked. I have your dirty cash. You really got it, he asked. Just show up. Derelict meal 3 o'clock. No witnesses, he ordered. I did not need a second invitation. Biao stood with his hounds flanking him. He tracked my stride with the arrogant smirk of a victor. He flicked a smoke into the mud. Money up front. Documents first, I replied. His grin became sharp and hungry. Prices go up, boy, and my crew is hungry. He flashed 5 fingers to mark the fresh demand. 500 grand clears your name. I stared back with hollow eyes. I despise those who betray their promises. You were getting 350,000, but now it is 200. I spoke in a freezing murmur. Biao turned white. Come again, he asked. 200,000. That is the final offer. I hate reiterating. A thug lunged with a metal rod, hoping to paint the pavement with my gray matter. He anticipated the crunch of skull, but the pipe stopped inches from my eyes. I caught it like a feather. The lackey stared in shock. Abruptly, an unseen force began crushing him like a soda can. Effortlessly, I threw him across the room with a thought. A wet snap rang out as he slammed the masonry. Biao's stun faded into a roar for violence. The whole gang charged hungry to put me down. Odds were irrelevant now. They could not even graze me. I moved like a phantom, striking with deadly precision. Seconds later, the floor was a sea of shattered limbs and low, pained whimpers. Biao shook with terror. His pride vanished. Keep away, he yelled. You have no idea who I serve. Hand over the deeds, I barked, stepping closer. He dug through his coat and produced the crumpled sheets. I transferred the 200,000 as he quivered. You blew the big payout because you got greedy. I tore the debt papers into tiny scraps and let them drift. I left without glancing at the ruin I made. That book was finished. I grabbed a rusted junker and headed for the city's main distribution center. I entered the depot and silenced the salesman before he could open his mouth. I need 200 crates of noodles and 100 of meat. The girl verified the inventory. 200 boxes of snacks, all your tinned food, and every drop of water. He looked at me like I was insane. Money silences. Questions about end times prep. It took until dusk to pack the vehicle. 2 hours until the change. The morning was a rehearsal. Now the real game begins. Energy surged through my veins, making reality feel thin. I desired one final brush with the highlight first. I drove that vibrating pile of metal toward the fanciest bistro overlooking the city. Parked beside million-dollar rides, my van was an eyesore. The attendant looked down his nose at me. The boy attempted to stop me, so I flipped him a gold pebble the size of a pea. Watch the paint. If it gets nicked, you pay in blood. The mass of the gold stunned him. I brushed by into a realm of elegance and old wealth. It was all so clean and so damn brittle. This was another planet compared to the gory hellscape looming just beyond the veil. I was checking the prices when a known voice cut through. Jiang Chen stood there clinging to that rat Wang Ao. He looked startled before grinning and tugging her near. Well, see who we have here. Little Xia Wu. Here to mop up kid one meal is 3,800. Your whole existence is not worth a mouthful. Shut it, I muttered to the void. Fetch the cook. Bring me the finest. Wang Ao felt his insult land on nothing. My icy stoicism acted as armor against his verbal barbs. Watching his composure crumble before my quiet was intoxicating. Her shriek reached a glass-shattering pitch, demanding my attention. I remained a statue, treating her like thin air. They were merely background static in a reality I'd already left. Then Zoe, the floor manager, rushed over to intervene. The manager requested a lower volume for the guests. The brat immediately pivoted his hostility toward the newcomer. When did this establishment start catering to such low-life trash? Serving people like this cheapens the whole brand. Zhu recognized the wealthy brat, but noticed my unnatural, terrifying calm. We pride ourselves on offering every patron absolute professional courtesy, Zhu countered, firmly. His gaze fell on the heavy gold ingot I dropped on the tablecloth. He instantly collapsed into a humble 90-degree bow. Mr. Wu, please overlook this utterly shameful reception. I ignored the punk as I was escorted to the luxury suite. The kid barked one final pathetic jab, but the manager silenced him with a look that could freeze blood. Drop the act, Mr. Wang, or my guards will drag you out. My internal rhythm finally aligned with the core. They served a 5-star banquet in the private room. I'd once starved for this, yet now the food tasted like ash. Dinner concluded, and I returned to my storefront to prep for the impending leap between dimensions. The timer showed exactly 150 seconds left. At 0, the city's hum died, replaced by a tomb-like wasteland. The next jump reset was at 11 hours. I imagine as I cross more often that cooldown will eventually vanish. Soon, the veil will be mine to walk through at will. I sensed dozens of starving predators watching from the debris. Rumors of my miraculous shop had already spread through the survivor camps like a plague. These weren't just random scavengers. They were elite scouts. After 10 minutes, a figure emerged from the gloom. He kept his weapon slung casually while stopping before me. Call me Tiasi, he announced. I'm with the Pansy Group and we're here for business. I didn't even bother looking away from my register. What's there to discuss? Our tribe needs sustenance, clean water meds, and serious hardware for protection. I don't trade in weapons, I replied coldly. Tiasi wasn't shocked. He clearly expected a difficult negotiation. He slammed a heavy glittering gold bar onto the wood. View this as a retainer for a future partnership. We want a long-term deal with bulk pricing. I didn't flinch. My rates are the same for everyone. Shadows shifted behind him as his security grew edgy. Tiasi held up a hand, telling them to stay calm. We're trying to be reasonable here, friend. I stayed quiet, reaching into thin air to grab a sealed can of meat. The tin floated through the air and settled on the counter. I saw his eyes widen with sudden visceral dread. A telekinetic? He likely assumed the shield was my only power. He never realized I was a high tier awakened. 1 gold bar per box. We need a full manifest of your current inventory. I cleared my throat and snapped my fingers once. A massive stack of bottled water materialized on the dirt floor. Is that sufficient? I asked, Because if you're still parched, I snapped again. A wall of military rations appeared beside the water. I watched his throat tighten as he gaped at the horde. This wasn't some basic mental trick. I was bending space-time. How do we even begin to price this haul? Like I said, 1 gold bar per case. We want it all, but mining, that much metal takes time. Gold is for the cheap stuff on the shelves. If you want the warehouse, you'll need a different coin. Crystal cores. Those are our power sources and the very heart of our survival. That sounds like your problem, not mine. I flicked my wrist and the supplies vanished into the void. I held every winning card and he knew it. If he hated the price, I'd just find a different buyer. Other camps would kill for this while his group starved. Fine. Let's talk about the swap. 100 gold bars plus cores for water. Rations are double. His fist whitened at his side. This is blatant robbery. He took a long, jagged breath to stay composed. I have to check with command. Keep this gold bar as a consultation fee. I just gave a nod and pocketed the metal silently. He vanished into the shadows without a word. I went back to polishing the counter until it gleamed. After 10 minutes, 3 figures emerged from the rubble. A man in spectacles led 2 armed soldiers forward. Hello, shopkeep. I'm Professor He from the far shelter. I stayed silent, sizing him up for his pitch. Let's be real. Your income model is a total train wreck. Once the city centers rot, the fallout is absolute. Your market vanishes. These cells are the only currency that matters now. That smug look on the academic's face died fast. Honestly, I couldn't care less if their society burnt to the ground. I held every card. That's when a shadow materialized from the blackness. A battery hit the table with a heavy thud. Total quiet. I tossed out some self-heating rations and 2 liters of water. She snatched the supply, spun around, and melted into the shadows. The trade was dead silent. His academic theories were worthless compared to 100 bars of gold and 10 pounds of juice. Prices just went up. You stalled for 3 minutes, so pay 15. Fine, we're in, he croaked. I'm no king of the wasteland, but inside these 4 walls, I'm the only deity that counts. He keyed his mic and had 15 pounds of gold and power at my door in under 5 minutes. 20 minutes later, the floor began to hum with a deep rumble of massive hardware. 2 heavy lockers slammed down. One was packed with gold. The other had 15 pounds of high-grade fuel. I slid the fluids across the line the second the credits cleared. We wrapped up just as the shadows moved. Scorpio was back and he brought a small army with him. Guns went up instantly. We've got your price, Scorpio barked, kicking the crates open. There it was, the gold plus 20 pounds of energy, double what I'd even demanded. Scorpio was buying friends with the only thing people worship. The professor looked like he'd just seen his own grave. He knew he was screwed. I reached into my stash and pulled out fresh steaks and hardtack. I slid the food over. Scorpio looked like he forgot how to breathe at the sight of actual meat. His play worked. He gave me a sharp nod of respect before turning a cold, dead gaze toward the old man. We're here for trade, Professor. Don't start something you can't finish. Because if you do, we'll bury you. Before he finished the threat, 20 safeties clicked off in one chilling, perfect rhythm. The thugs growled. We're out of here, the academic hissed. I just watched the circus unfold in silence. It was quite the performance. High-tech arrogance versus raw, disciplined muscle. Once the dust settled, Scorpio gave a final nod and slipped back into the void. I just made a killing in gold and power, but the peace didn't last 5 seconds. 3 convoys rolled up as the shriek of 1,000 monsters tore through the air. 3 different commanders started screaming orders at the exact same time. Lock and load. Heavy guns and rifles started singing a brutal, rhythmic song of slaughter. Elemental fire and ice sliced through the dark. When the last beast fell, the silence felt like a physical weight. Boss, where are the big guns? Give us a second. We're coming in with a deal you can't refuse. Let's talk numbers. This is our turf. My guys don't wait in lines. What have you got? We cleared those freaks out as a courtesy. Now get in the back of the line where you belong. If your crew can't follow the rules, you get nothing. I run a tight ship here. I don't give a damn about your rules. Follow orders or get out. My reputation is on the line here. The bald guy snapped. He made his choice. Bring the gold, he barked. I'm buying out the whole stock. Terms violated. Shops closed. I flicked my wrist and the entire inventory vanished into the void. The racks went empty in a flash. The other squads turned on the bald man with blood in their eyes. I brought a peace offering. Don't play with me. Nobody disrespects my crew on the east side. Who are you to tell me no? I asked. I'm done listening to dogs bark. Open fire. Level it lead, rain toward the glass, only to ping off an invisible, unbreakable barrier. Not only are you blacklisted, but I'm putting a 100-case meat bounty on your heads. Every merc went stiff. I raised a hand and 100 crates of beef appeared on the sidewalk. Every starving soul in the square locked onto the bald leader's throat like a pack of wolves. You want to fight? I'm the boss. We're taking that meat, one of his own men screamed back. A final vote broke the silence, cementing the coup. All of you. Their chief shrieked, his tone splintering. Every soldier stared at the dirt. Out in these barrens, devotion is worth nothing. Suddenly, a jagged blade punctured the commander's spine. His lieutenant didn't blink while twisting the steel. Why? The dying man gasped. The killer's face stayed cold, empty of guilt. Survival is the only law, boss, he whispered, staring at the grain. The king is gone. Claim the bounty. From this second, every rat in that pack is banned. They killed for bread. Since they ditched that loser, I'm willing to talk business again. My issue was purely structural. A shadow stepped forward. I'm Bale. I handle logistics for the Ark. On behalf of our colony, I'm inviting you in. We need survivors who actually know the game. The traitor quickly calculated the odds. Fine, he snapped. We're with you. 20 rifles hit the floor with a heavy clang. I leaned back, waving my hand with bored indifference. 100 crates of salted meat slid toward the new guy. He immediately started sucking up to the boss. Boss, I appreciate the chance. Take this haul as a tribute for our new deal. Envy choked the air, yet the crowd stayed still. No one had the balls to cross me. Bale took point. Right behind him was that skinny scavenger from the gutter. What do you need? Fuel and water. He dropped 2 chests containing 50 gold bars and 20 coins. After the deal, he lingered. Listen, can you handle special orders for the next trip? Depends on the cash. What's the ask? Antibiotics and meds. I need every pill available. Write it down. Bring a deposit next time. Done. Then came the bottom feeder from the slums. He copied the last order, but begged for smokes and a bottle of cheap rotgut too. Once the players left, the starving loners and street kids started crowding in my booth. Most offered scrap metal or pennies. Then one guy pulled out something that froze my heart. It was a heavy power unit. Its capacity and life cycle crushed anything from the civilized world. A massive realization hit me. I'd been treating this dead planet like a simple piggy bank. I was blind to the high tech these people built before the world burned. I pulled out a premium stash, 2 fresh loaves, clean water, and 2 sticks of jerky. The crowd stood frozen. I was offering a king's meal for a single piece of junk. Listen up. From now on, high-end hardware is the only currency I care about. In the shadows, the wolves began circling the guy. He gripped his food, shaking with terror. In this pit, a full belly is a death sentence. But I wasn't finished with him. Anyone want to try me? I'll pay for your heads and canned beef. The killers stopped cold. The image of the rotting boss was still vivid. I looked at the tech. Name? Shua Guan. Where'd you get this? I built circuits for Tianqian before the end, he said. The Raytheon 7 was our masterpiece. The plants were running full tilt when the sickness hit. Thousands of these are just sitting there. But the staff, they're all mindless monsters now. Greed surged through me. Bringing this tech home would change the balance of global power. If the plant is gone, can you get the blueprints? The whole works, he replied. The chemistry that builds the entire digital manual. It's all saved on the main facility mainframe. Give me terminal access and I'll pull it all. Suddenly, he wasn't just some pathetic stray. He turned from a ghost into a literal gold mine. I just needed muscle to grab the goods. I made the call. You're on the payroll. You're my new tech chief for every deal. In exchange, you'll never thirst or starve again. Pure, desperate relief washed over his face. He'd bought a ticket out of hell. The other scavengers quickly realized the game had changed. If one battery meant life, what about their trash? A frantic hunt for old tech began. Broken chips, lost vials, and scorched research notes. Yesterday's trash was suddenly the new gold for kings. I processed every last refugee, letting Joe handle the muscle until dawn finally broke the chaos. Blinding lights pierced the void as a massive chrome beast thundered across the scorched earth. The woman and her scrawny partner leaped down, slamming heavy chests of bullion into the dirt. Here is the haul from the hives. We are officially square, every cent accounted for. Your next load arrives shortly, and both warlords bent the knee in total surrender. The contract was sealed, yet they lingered like shadows, eyes glued to the mountain of hardware. My expression stayed frozen as I mentioned the 10,000 power cells hidden up north. 5,000 beasts turned that place into a tomb, but I am giving you the entry. I bankroll the op while you provide the killers to retrieve that primary drive intact. It was certain death with a lottery win attached and a way into my private vault. The hive agrees. The beanpole barked, bragging about his specialized team of cold-blooded assassins. We will get it done. Watch your mouth, the girl hissed, claiming her gear was superior. Snatching that drive requires finesse, and only our shooters have the talent to pull it off. It will be back in one piece. 5,000 freaks. Scorpio laughed, calling it a death sentence. Muscle does not crack encryption. Without techies, you are just fresh meat at the front gate. I have the top coder from the Capitol. Their arrogant smiles evaporated instantly. So the tower held an ace after all. That is enough chatter for one night. Titles mean nothing. Bring me a broken server, and I will leave your people to starve. My threat drained the life from the faces of those four desperate faction heads. The warning was icy and brutal, making these rivals play nice the moment I finished. Once the heavy hitters crumbled, everyone else followed, forging a pact that defied all logic. 100 enhanced killers and endless fodder gathered as I sent Joe toward the convoys. If he gets bruised, I will torch your entire reality. We promised, they pledged. One problem left, she muttered. The former kingpin wants blood since we iced his guy. He will retaliate, and the betrayal during the heist would be a total catastrophe. Every pair of eyes in the plaza locked onto me, waiting for my next command. 10 crates of steak for a head, 1,000 for the boss. Anyone can claim it. They turned pale. The danger she feared was a joke compared to the slaughter I just unleashed. A deathly hush fell over the ruins. Nobody dared to think about their petty squabbles. They realized their turn was coming. You cannot talk your way out of a bounty. The four tyrants who ruled the waste with absolute power did not utter another sound. Orders were barked as they loaded up. Before departing, the chief grabbed my associate. Join our crew, Joe. We need your knowledge of that tomb to stay breathing. Joe looked for permission. I gave a curt nod, and he hopped into the carrier. As the dust settled behind the trucks, I stayed back in the ruins for a while. I organized my spoils and absorbed the power feeling that familiar burn gut me. I winced as my mind expanded. My internal capacity reached 3,000 cubic meters. It was more than storage now. I could sense the invisible webs of raw power. 200 kilos felt weightless, ready to launch. I spotted a heavy metal frame. The steel screamed as it crumpled into a ball. 12 minutes remained on the clock. Those power cells were my ladder. Being a mere broker was no longer my goal. I will seize the entire world. This gold needs to be laundered into hard currency now. You cannot walk into a vault with tons of bullion. I needed a real predator. That reptile has the criminal connections I need. He is the perfect tool to move mass. Once the money is in, I will stuff my vault with every resource on the planet. Step 1 up front, I need a leak-proof bucket for when that uplink goes live. This plan is scorched into my skull. Each step feels like a terminal gamble. This silence is vibrating, ready to tear through reality. A single slip, and the floor vanishes. I'm free-falling through a gut-wrenching vacuum until the pavement hits back. 11 hours until the drop. Through the window, the city's neon heart keeps its cold, steady rhythm. The stench of that wasteland won't leave my chest. These bright lights are a hallucination. I'm the one holding the cards. I hid out in my hole in the wall on Blue Street, staring at the cracks in the plaster from my bed. The neural kickback is a killer, turning my bones to concrete. I crawled out at 11, grabbed a bite, and dialed that leech Liu. Yeah, Wu here. Yo, Wu, what's the play? Got some hardware that needs moving. How much heat we talking? Lukewarm. You've dealt with worse. The abandoned concrete works. Solo. Got it. I'm there. 3 p.m. on the nose. I was sinking into a rotting couch in that skeleton of a building when his headlights appeared. Liu crept inside like a man walking to the gallows, his lungs paralyzed by sheer panic. Okay, Wu, give it to me straight. How big is this load? I slammed a solid gold bar onto the surface. His jaw hit the floor. Shifting 500 grams is child's play for a fence. As he crunched the numbers, I pulled the zipper wide, dumping 12 more bricks into the dim light. He turned to stone, his mind hitting a dead end. 20 bars, 500 grams apiece, gathering grime in the shadows. 10 kilograms of pure gold sent a tremor through his whole body. In his league, that kind of weight means blood or prison. The realization hit he was looking at a life sentence. Woo, you're digging a hole for me, aren't you? I looked past his eyes. You doing this or not? He just froze, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the deal. He couldn't meet my gaze. To him, I wasn't a guy anymore. I was a walking death sentence. End sentence. If 10 keys is too much for you to swallow, you're useless. Plenty of hitters want this. Decide? Boss, it's too hot. It's pure. I'm just in a hurry to dump it. Understand? Mr. Wu, look. I gotta check with the higher-ups to see if we can handle this volume. I gave him the green light. He looked like a survivor of a wreck shaking too hard to even walk away. He fumbled with his phone. Talk to me. Did you get a lead on that warehouse spot? She just gawked, her lips moving, but her voice completely failing her. She was looking at a ghost who threw gold around like scrap metal. This wasn't a paycheck, it was a revolution. The sheer size of it was melting her brain. Mr. Wu, this is way over my head. I have to escalate this. She backed into the shadows, hissing into her receiver like her neck was on the line. She let the numbers sink in 300 kilos, up front 12 tons annually. When she faced me again, her composure was gone. The CEO wants a sit-down. 7 tomorrow night right here. I gestured to the pile. Get this out of here first. $810 per gram to start. My device vibrated with an $800 million deposit. Sister Sue escorted me to the ride, eyes fixed on me until I vanished. B. Leo scurried over trying to play nice. So what's the story with this Wu character? Button it, she barked. When he speaks, you listen. If you fumble this, there isn't a hole deep enough for you to hide in. B. Leo just shivered. I skipped the storefront and burned rubber toward the massive supply depot. The guy behind the desk saw my wheels and practically sprinted out. Mr. Wu, good to have you back. What are we looking for? I pinned the sheet against his ribs. I want all of this, but 10 times the quantity. He started leaking sweat, nodding frantically. I swiped for $2 million without even glancing at the total. I burned the daylight lugging boxes, cramming my secret stash until the walls were practically screaming. Time for the real hustle. In the waste is a box of penicillin. It is worth more than a crate of jewels. I cut through the gridlock, heading for the pharmaceutical district on the city's fringe. I bypassed the corporate pharmacies for a basement shop. The old-timer didn't even glance up. I need prescriptions or permits. You holding? Nothing, then beat it. I'm not looking for trouble. I didn't say a word, just flipped my phone over to show him the display. That string of zeros punched the wind right out of him, leaving him gasping for air. I need every vial of antibiotics and every scrap of gauze you have. All of it. His breathing suddenly hitched. What is your play here? Are you a real buyer or just wasting my breath? He gasped for air. Into my office immediately. Half an hour later, my rig was overflowing with medicine. $1 million spent. Next hardware. I require 20 diesel generators of this specific make. Solar panels, power banks, I stripped the entire inventory bare. Pliers, welders, wrenches, keep them in their crates. I want everything factory sealed and untouched. The final objective was fuel. A standard neighborhood gas station wouldn't handle a haul of this magnitude. BL directed me to a concealed fuel depot. The proprietor nearly wept with joy when I ordered hundreds of gas barrels. Every dollar I burn today is a massive gamble that will return 1,000-fold once society finally collapses. There were only 30 minutes remaining, so I just sat in the silence and waited for the clock. The other side was swallowed in pitch black. I had to touch down at dawn. My eyes snapped open at 6 sharp. That gut-wrenching sensation of falling into nothingness took hold of me. The transition actually worked. Welcome to the end of days. 10 hours of downtime before I can move. Scavengers swarmed me the moment I arrived. Hunting for a battery, he flashed a high-end power cell. Before he could react, the tech vanished or replaced by a loaf of bread. The desperate survivors tore into my supplies like wild animals for a few minutes. Then, 7 o'clock arrived. A low vibration rattled the earth as the 4 major syndicates rolled in. Chief, we are locked and loaded for combat. The engineering team is on standby. Fox is already out front slicing a path through the mountain of wreckage. Wang Chongmin pinpointed the server's location. We are green to go. Has everyone had a meal yet? I asked. That specific question stunned Scorpio and his crew. I did not wait for a response. I simply signaled the drop. Crates filled with instant noodles, hot meals, and canned beef materialized into a literal mountain of food. I watched their throats move as they struggled to swallow. For these men, a full stomach was a distant myth. This kind of feast was impossible here. Do not just stare at it. This is a gift from the chief. Start eating. They snapped into formation instantly. Battle-hardened killers were on the verge of tears as they gorged themselves on the food. If this was only breakfast, the final reward would be legendary. They finally had a real taste of a future. While they were occupied with the feast, I went for the kill. More massive shipping containers slammed onto the dirt. A heavy boom echoed through the wasteland. This was no longer about survival rations. This was about tobacco. In the ruins, cigarettes are pure currency. 2 packs, For the grunts, a whole carton for the leaders. I was making a point. It was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. It motivated them more effectively than any hollow speech ever could. It did more than satisfy a habit. It silenced their shaking nerves. Before they could exhale, I raised my hand once more. I produced several matte black hardshell cases secured with high-tech biometric security seals. The professor popped the latches. Inside sat a squadron of elite military-grade surveillance drones. Other kits held tactical comms, signal jammers, and thermal optics. Now we will spot those bastards coming from a mile away. Scorpio and his soldiers were breathing heavily. Up until this moment, they had been swinging blindly in the shadows. They used to rely on screaming and rushing. This represented a sophisticated new level of systematic, high-tech elimination. Their spirit reached a fever pitch. Full bellies and lethal technology, they were officially primed for the hunt. Prime for the coming slaughter. If those engines had vocal cords, this roar would be a 10 on the scale. The motors thundered in unison, creating a river of steel. The fractured ground beneath us began to vibrate. The motorcade surged toward the tech park. Panzer's heavy rigs took point, acting as our primary battering ram. They tore through the debris like it was tissue paper. Arc units held the center while Belu's drones scouted the path. Wasp's motorcycle crew buzzed around our flanks like a swarm of predatory, angry hornets. The heavy transport trucks guarded our rear, ensuring the professor and the technical crew remained untouched. Hostiles at 500 meters, she signaled. Bailu did not even blink. Arc Team 2 erased them from the map. The off-roaders veered out roof-mounted turrets barking. A storm of lead shredded the walkers into a fine red mist. It was absolute butchery. The convoy did not even tap the brakes as we pulverized everything in our path. Everything was unfolding perfectly. Back at the base, I monitored the live feed from the comfort of a lawn chair. Our wall of steel reached the park perimeter and halted. The tech park loomed a fortress shielded by 5-meter alloy walls. Steel towers with red strobes marked the path every 100 yards. Squads fanned out while the brass hovered over glowing tablets. Cold eyes tracked the maps while the steel doors held. Trigger it, the tech muttered. Scorpio grinned. Let's get loud. Finish them here, Bailu hissed, pinpointing the kill box. We ringed the area to gut any monster trying to escape. The blasters set charges while Wasp circled the gray clouds. Panzer's scouts took point, moving like a well-oiled machine. Massive guns locked home as the ground started to tremble. The earth buckled like rough water beneath their heavy boots. Dugouts materialized instantly while the breachers set their timers. One quiet second passed before a massive blast shattered everything. The metal warped and a tide of rotting filth poured out. Dead flooded the zone. Fire Bailu yelled as Lid sang. They were endless scrambling over the bodies of their brothers. Our front lines choked on mountains of decaying meat. Fresh horror scaled the bone wall right before the mines ignited. Red mist filled the air. Scorpio bellowed, revving his cannon. He painted the town red while the line held steady. I watched the massacre on my screen with frozen eyes. The feed showed we were losing just as Nightingale arrived. Her crew eyed my kit hungrily, but she stayed chill. Struggling, she asked. I just chuckled at her desperation. Helping my boys have this. Her composure finally broke. She inhaled deeply. We can handle the dirty work. Maybe better than yours. Intrigued, I pointed to the breach. That gap is yours. 1 meal apiece. Prove your worth. Their faces burned with rage. One dinner for our lives. Are we panhandling? Now one spat. She only watched me. Shut it. Take the scraps or starve. We've got work. She walked toward the swarm alone while her boys faltered. A scarred vet spat and followed. The rest soon joined. I grinned coldly. I wasn't hiring help. I was buying souls. Yejin showed with 12 ghosts. Bailu glared but stayed mum. Boss's orders. This is ours. Bailu tossed them the meat. They choked down the food and dove into the meat grinder. Bailu watched, confused why I'd bring rats to this war. She sighed. Save your shells. Watch the flanks. Fire slowed. A gap opened, drawing the monsters toward the new bait. The scarred man roared, warping into a 7-foot beast. He tore through a dozen while the rest joined the fray. They held the line, but they fought like wild dogs. No strategy existed, only a primal, savage urge to survive. Gaps appeared as they slipped. Bailu's crew had to intervene. She prepared to lead while Yejin watched the chaos unfold. The stove breathed a death rattle before the grease erupted into a blinding white sun. My kitchen staff bolted, but Mia, she didn't blink. With one calculated shove, she launched the flaming iron toward the stack of oily linens in the corner. Impact turned the grease pit into an inferno, incinerating my mountain of defaulted loans in a glorious roar. I watched the black plumes rise, leaning against my fender with a jagged smile. That girl is ice cold. She has the soul of a gambler, while the rest were just clock-punching cowards chasing a paycheck. My phone screen flickered to black as the cameras melted. Then the sirens began their mournful wail. Watching my life's work liquefy brought a bizarre serenity. The chief's bark shattered the moment. Move it, perimeter check, clear the gas lines, and get these rubberneckers off the asphalt now. Heavy engine blocks roared as the fire rigs choked the narrow, soot-stained alleyway. The vultures arrived before the embers cooled, slipping past the police line toward my records. Blue light washed over the suits' faces as they began dissecting my financial corpse on their tablets. One man stripped the liquor license while another verified the digital inventory trails. They swarmed, one on the roof, one in the safe, others flanking the lead bank rep. They marched toward the deep freeze like a firing squad ready to claim the high-end spoils. Every move was surgical, a professional sweep for whatever scraps of value survived the heat. Mia and I stayed in the shadows, watching my crew's faces twist in hollow disbelief. They realized then the suits were only here for the payout. A dark sedan rolled up. "Clear out the north lot," I whispered. Mia nodded once, ushering her kin into the darkness. The recovery crew finally reached the reinforced steel guarding the wine cellar. The bank agent sent his grunts in ahead, descending into the numbing, pitch-black tomb. The lead man's fingers flew across the keypad, forcing the heavy vault to surrender. A sharp mechanical crack preceded the door's heavy moan as frost breath spilled into the hall. Dark rows of vintage glass waited. They lunged for the heart of my private reserve. "Jackpot!" The man spat, his eyes gleaming with avarice as the security team tightened the circle. They began shoving the rare vintages into crates, tallying my losses with frantic speed. A progress bar on the tablet crawled toward completion. Assets secured. Loading finishes in 40 minutes. Down at the docks, the second team had already gutted the dry storage room. A technician stroked the stainless steel of my custom range, the indicator, light switching from red to green. "She's mint," he radioed. "We just need the crane and a power source to pull it." "Where are the backups?" the foreman snapped, gesturing toward the exterior outbuilding. The locks broke, revealing thousands in premium hardware, all etched with my family's crest. A worker buried his blade in a crate to reveal my secret stash. Custom steel blades tumbled out. They were stunned. The boss immediately began scanning the serial numbers. "We're looking at $30,000 in pristine gear right here." "Less than 5% wear," he muttered. "The bank is going to kill it at the auction." "2 complete prep stations," he shouted, dialing his superiors with a grin. "Score confirmed. The lines are ours." Meanwhile, I just sat on the curb waiting. The radio chatter was the soundtrack to my funeral, but I kept my face blank. I pulled a cold soda from the ice, letting the bubbles burn. My real secrets were buried deep. With the trucks loaded, the suit looked at me trembling as if I might finally explode. Sweat beaded on his lip as he approached through the haze of the wreckage. As the gate clanged shut, I stood up and pinned him with a gaze as hard as granite. "You mentioned a final settlement, didn't you?" His color drained. He expected a bullet. Before he could plead, I yanked the freezer door open, revealing a literal wall of prime cuts. Thousands of pounds of steak and poultry, my entire pride. 2,000 locals stared in shock. "Well, dig in." Chow time. Silence held for a heartbeat before a roar shattered the sky. Soldiers lunged for steaks while the vanguard stoked the roasting flames. Staff played its sides while sentries watched for any party crashers. Soon the air reeked of burnt fat and bittersweet memories. Nightingale lingered, observing her team enjoy their first decent feast. "Message received, go solo, and you will perish on scraps. Hunger demands submission." From the darkness, I nursed a soda. Scorpio sprinted over, wheezing as he swore his soul to me. Words were useless. I crushed my glass and offered him everything. "Obey or starve. It is easy." Then I vanished into my lab. That ultimatum crushed them. My presence haunted the camp until dawn. The veterans stared, paralyzed by the realization their era had died. Everything shifted. Come daybreak, the embers died and plates sat empty. I pried open the vault and felt every gaze burn. With one casual gesture, a hill of supplies materialized. Rations and smokes for miles. I announced a new hierarchy. Killers get the prizes, the rest get the crumbs. Earnings match your lethality. Bailu tracks stats. Scorpio stays vigilant. I turned the tail, leaving a sea of cheering voices behind. Bailu crunched numbers. History vanished. Now only my word is law. Only my rules. Engines roared, leaving a graveyard of scraps. Nightingale's squad lingered in the silence, sensing the heavy shift. I threw them noodles. Carlos' fists were white with rage. You are using us like cheap hammers for your crimes. Tension peaked, but Nightingale just sized me up and acted. Vultures are gathering. We will perish without reinforcements immediately. No cavalry is coming. We are the last line here. I smirked. Stick around and you are on my dime. Join my shadows. Your new unit name is Night. You lead Nightingale. I unloaded power and eyes in the sky. I gifted the hardware. Guard the gate and mark intruders. They fell silent. The tech actually made Nightingale blink. She refocused, barking orders for the crew to move. A command echoed. They locked down the borders with precision. Engine hums faded. I tracked their exit and barred the entrance. Peace returned. I focused on the neon schematics on my screen. With wealth and weaponry, I will build an empire here. News of my bazaar raced through the wasteland camps. Midday brought a swarm of desperate souls to my gate. I arrived with nothing. No charity. Swap scrap for survival. I appointed a manager. The gears of commerce began turning. Lines formed trading past regrets for 24 more hours. I archived human history while the bazaar hummed below. The queue stretched miles. I ordered a strict 5 p.m. cutoff. No leeway. He bellowed to the crowd, closing at 5. Kids got heart, a pro. Push the alert for Nightingale. Garden. Now. The boss is shaking from relief. 3 bows. 5 o'clock sharp. Mission finished. My crew arrived. The plaza went dead silent. Focused. Reality glitched. Only 2 hours left. Hit the luxury mall. Walked into the boutique. Gray suit. Clerk's gone. I am through. 7 sharp. Parked the van at the gate. Ignored her groupies. Su Wan was invisible. Dragged the chest. The metal screamed. Wait. Shocked. Tossed 660 pounds effortlessly. Hiding nerves. Shadows were watching me enter. Let deep inside. Massive office. High ceilings. Elder reading. Su bowed. His eyes were ice. Boss, he's here. Dropped the trunks. Loud. Desk creaked under 660 pounds. Show. No movement. Brow up. Grab the receiver. Tech entered. Snapped the locks on the bars. Checked the gold. One professional nod. Real. Weight is perfect. Tan waved them away. Offered 246 million. Tablet slid. Not batteries. I am hunting the tech. Squinted. He saw I wanted the carcass. No blinking. Told legal to strip the firm. Moving fast. Paperwork hit the desk. Done. Signed. Tan looked like I'd punched him. No reading. Stared him down. Boss now. Data. Lock the bank. Everything stops now. 9 a.m. Be there or be unemployed. Team runs it. Need 5 million cash. Keep the change. Tan's thin knowing smirk. Total mystery. Sue wheeled in the cart. 2 bags. Cash. Grabbed the weight. Left. Floored it. Inside, Sue questioned the boss. Trusting him. He came from thin air. Reckless wild card. Loser turned power player. Erase the files. Stop every search now. No more woo. Give him everything. Terrified. 8:45. Yuan. Panic. Staff waiting. Engine roared. Head snapped. Walked in. Holding the file. Silence fell. Dead quiet. 10 minutes. Pack your desk. Get out. Frozen. Director's face turned a bruised purple. This is a coup. Who are you? No more time. 78 million wasted. Over. Every cell in this rack is a death sentence. The chief engineer's jaw hit the floor as his skin turned paper white. You people are flying blind into a canyon. You've been gutting this place like a fish. I held his gaze. This brand died under your watch, and I'm the one holding the paddles to jumpstart its heart. We are about to turn the entire industry playbook into ashes. A low, anxious hum spread through the assembly line crew. The room felt like a pressure cooker about to pop. I wasn't done. I began airing out every manager's secrets like a laundry list of sins. Reality finally crashed down on them. This wasn't just some board meeting. It was a guillotine. Their ego vanished, replaced by the gut-wrenching fear of a prison cell. The boss looked like he had walked into his own funeral. I kept the pressure on my words slicing through the tension like a razor. I pointed out the rots on the floor, the parasites who were just showing up to bleed the payroll dry. My proof left them frozen. They slunk away like kicked curs. In 10 minutes, 20% of the staff were packing their boxes. An icy dread filled the shop. The silence was so thick it felt like it was drowning them. I clicked my case shut and hauled a heavy trunk from the car, dragging it right into the spotlight. I kicked the lock open. $5 million? Piles of crisp hundreds stared them down. 50% raises for anyone left standing. Payday starts now. Line up. There is a $10,000 bonus waiting for each of you. The entire floor froze in disbelief. Then, like a dam breaking, the place turned into absolute bedlam. Skepticism evaporated instantly. A massive line snaked toward the light as every worker scrambled forward. They stuffed the bills away, their eyes full of new respect. Then a sharp voice cut through the noise. An expert named Sun Lei stepped out. Boss, my name is Sun Lei. I ran the materials lab before the collapse. The big shots are out, but what exactly are we building here? The room went stone cold silent again. A business with no product is just a slow motion crash into the abyss. They felt the ledge crumbling under their feet. Every pair of eyes in the room searched mine for a way out. I skipped the pep talk. I just pulled out the Raytheon 7 prototype. This is our new world. Everything rides on the Shin Mark 1. The engineers immediately crowded around the unit like it was magic. They picked it apart like a mystery. What kind of performance metrics are we looking at? Energy density, 400 watt-hours per kilogram. 500 cycles at full throttle. The room collectively forgot how to breathe. Sun Lei nearly screamed that the math shouldn't even be possible. These specs tossed the textbooks out the window. It makes current tech look like a child's toy. I met their disbelief head on. Exactly. The lab is open. Grab your gear and prove I'm lying. Break it if you can. Sun Lei stood there stunned by the absolute certainty in my tone. She didn't waste another second. Quality and engineering, move out, she barked. She held the cell like a holy artifact and bolted for the upstairs test lab. Half an hour later, she tore back down the steps, looking like she'd seen God. She was shaking her knuckles white as she gripped the data. The output, she stuttered. It hit 401.7. Degradation was only 0.3% under peak load. It blew past every safety benchmark we have. A heavy, eerie quiet filled the floor as the weight of the moment hit home. That piece of lithium suddenly looked like a brick of pure gold. Sun Lei was shaking with pure adrenaline. She gave me a sharp, reverent nod. From here on out, you're the captain. We're in. Hand out the rest of the money. Log everything. I want everyone at their desk by 9 tomorrow morning. I stepped out into the quiet, feeling 100 pairs of loyal eyes tracking my every move. I drove off and dialed Sun Lei. We've got a mountain to move. Get that data patented this instant. Bury every single detail under a top secret clearance. Find me a heavy-hitting manager to run the daily operations. Poach the top engineers in the country and set a press conference for 72 hours from now. The deadline rattled her. Consider it done, she promised. I cut the line. Suwan briefed Elder Tan on every detail. Give him the keys to the kingdom, the old man barked. The plant roared back to life. Within 30 minutes, our encrypted files were hitting the patent office. 3 top-tier headhunters received their kill orders. While my rival trended, I silently prepared for war. I ghosted into the slums, provoking every local gang. Demanding a blood money, I went dark and briefed her. Feeling like a target, I ordered her to hire muscle. I needed a legion of 100 soldiers to survive. 9 hours was the limit. I pushed for 10. They delivered 200 kilos of gold and ore. I hid the cash and inhaled the raw energy. My energy surged 10,000 cubic meters in one pulse. Lifting 300 kilos felt like nothing. I was iron. The job finished, I limped home and blacked out. The factory floor was vibrating when I returned. Suwan cheered. The elite pros were finally signed. She found the lethal experts I needed to live.